Well, after 5 pretty competitive playoff games, I would say you could argue the Patriots won. We just saw the Houston Texans felt a pass on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to break down the game, talk about where I see the future going for the Houston Texans, what their playoff run could be here, and of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers and their future. Will Mike Tomlin be back next year? Will Aaron Rodgers be back next year? I'm going to give you guys my takes on that. We got to start with the football game, man. Houston wins 30-6, and the number one takeaway has to be the Houston Texans proved it again. They have the best defense in the entire NFL. It's not close. Seattle statistically had a great year. Houston has the best defense in football at every level. In this game, 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 2 touchdowns. The defense outscored Pittsburgh 14-6 on their own. They win this football game. 154 total yards allowed. That is complete domination of an opponent. And were the Pittsburgh Steelers the strongest playoff opponent? No, clearly not. They clearly had their offensive limitations. But this is a beatdown. And this is what the Houston Texans defense is capable of doing because we've seen it all year. They will make your quarterback have his worst game of the season. They will make your offense have their worst game of the season. They'll take away the run. They'll take away the pass. You try and get fancy with screen passes, they have some of the best tackling defensive backs in football. From top to bottom. First team All-Pro Derek Stingley. First team All-Pro Will Anderson Jr. Second team All-Pro Danielle Hunter. Studs all across the defense. Petrie, Lassiter, Bullock, Sheldon Rankins. This Texans defense has dudes. And they showed it again tonight. Like they've showed it all season. The Texans defense in a wide open playoff field has always had the ability to win this team any game and take them to the Super Bowl. That is why all season I believed in this Texans team. That is why prior to the season, there's a video on the channel. The Houston Texans are the most dangerous team in the NFL. It starts with this side of the ball. The defense that can break any game. Again, Mahomes, Allen, you name it. An elite quarterback that played the Texans this year probably had their worst game of the season against the Texans this year. It's not a coincidence. This defense is the best in football and seriously is one of the best of all time. And they have an ability to bring this Texans team to wins because I'll be damned, CJ Stroud tried to lose this game in the first half. The man had 5 fumbles tonight, only lost 2 of them, but 2 fumbles lost, an interception. CJ Stroud wasn't good tonight. And there would have been a lot of chatter, man, if the Texans lost this game because of CJ Stroud. Tonight they won in spite of him. And listen, I'm not going to put this on CJ as who he is. I've seen CJ Stroud now in 5 playoff games. This was, in my estimation, the worst one he's played. His team still comes out with a win. But CJ Stroud has to be better the rest of the way. You're not going to face an offense as bad as Pittsburgh's that isn't able to capitalize on the field position that you're giving them with these turnovers. Drake May will do better. You know, whoever you'd face in the AFC chip in the Super Bowl would do better. This has to be Stroud's worst game. He can't afford another game like this. But again, I mean, multiple turnovers, plenty of missed throws. I mean, the throw rolling to the right where he had Nico Collins at the end of the first half, that's points off the board. That catch would have put them in field goal range. How many points did Houston leave on the board tonight because of Stroud? Could they have won this game 45-6? Maybe. This was complete domination in spite of CJ Stroud. I do want to give a shout out to Christian Kirk, 8 for 144 to touchdown. Nico Collins gets hurt in this game, and even when he's out there, Joey Porter Jr. doing a pretty good job on him. And Woody Marks, man, rookie running back, who once he started getting in there for the Texans this season and elevated their offense to being a real two-dimensional offense where they could actually rely on the run game, because before him, with Nick Chubb and Agumba Walt, like they had nothing going on in the run game. Woody Marks saved the Texans rushing attack this season because of the explosiveness that he has. And we saw it in this game. Their running attack was real tonight. Some of that is Pittsburgh's defense, to be honest, not that great. 112 on the ground, a touchdown for Woody Marks. A really, really solid night. I do want to give the Texans franchise credit too. The past 3 years, they've been in the playoffs, and they've won a playoff game every year. And there's not a lot of franchises that you could say that for at this point in time, that have been to the playoffs each of the last 3 seasons and have won a playoff game. Now, Houston hasn't elevated to that next level of AFC Championship or Super Bowl yet, but they have been consistently great since Stroud, Will Anderson, and DeMeco Ryans have gotten there. The team wins. We want to see them take that next step as football fans. The Texans could be on the verge of taking that next step. We could see them take that next step as soon as Sunday. But they have been the definition of great for the past 3 years, and I think it's worth throwing some additional flowers their way, not just for the game tonight. Because I do think that there will be some people that attempt to discredit this win by pulling down the Pittsburgh Steelers when we're about to talk about them, but when I think we should also be elevating the Houston Texans for their defense, culture, and consistency in winning the last 3 years. This Texans team that started 0-3 this year, was 3-5 at one point, came into the playoffs the hottest team in football, winning 9 straight. That win streak is now up to double digits. So the Houston Texans absolutely have the ability to be playing in Santa Clara for the Super Bowl. The Pittsburgh Steelers. A quick little look ahead here. We'll do Texans Patriots. The Texans got a real shot in that game, man, because of what I saw the Chargers defense, specifically the Chargers defensive line, due to Drake May making him uncomfortable. Texans defensive line's better, so that could be a swing factor in the game. But the status of Nico Collins and Christian Gonzalez could really determine that game. If both guys are out, fair. If both guys are in, fair. But if one team has their guy going, if the Texans have Nico, but Gonzalez isn't going, I'm probably going to lean Houston. Or vice versa. If the Patriots got Gonzo and no Nico Collins, I'll probably lean New England. Like, those are real difference makers. Let's move on to Pittsburgh. The same old Steelers. 10-7, 9-8, something like that. Host a playoff game, lose. 7 straight playoff losses for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've made the playoffs 5 of the last 6 years. They haven't won a playoff game. A non-dynamic offense relying on the defense to make plays. Even though throughout the regular season, the Steelers defense wasn't that great this year, they were fine in this game, man. They forced 3 turnovers. They held the Texans to 7 first half points. You take away the defensive touchdowns, they held the Texans to 16 points. Should be enough to win. It wasn't. The offense was non-existent. And personally, I don't really blame Rodgers. Wasn't much to work with. DK Metcalf had a bad drop, and then he completely went away from him. Maybe you could argue Rodgers' stubbornness there. But Houston's defense is, 1, just legit. 2, we talked about this at the deadline. Me and Javon on the podcast, you were reacting to the trade deadline. And the Steelers just not making a move for another wide receiver when guys like Jacoby Myers and Rashid Shaheed were out there, we felt as inexcusable because the dynamic nature of this offense just isn't there. And it still wasn't there. And some of that, I think, is Arthur Smith. I think that the Steelers will be better served going in a new direction at offensive coordinator. Aaron Rodgers, to be honest, I thought he played really solid this year. And in this game, it wasn't perfect by any means. But I attribute a lot of that to the Texans' defense making him uncomfortable. But he had weapons that weren't in the right spot, and if they weren't making catches. I think if Rodgers decided he wanted to come back, he could be good in Pittsburgh. I think he's going to retire, and Aaron Rodgers is one of the all-time greats. And I believe we just saw him play for the last time. And that's sad, but the NFL machine keeps rolling. Mike Tomlin's future. I think, this is the last thing we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap up the video. I like Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is a fantastic head coach. And I think some of my analysis on this Tomlin situation is going to be similar to that of John Harbaugh, and it's similar to head coaches we've seen in the past. Yes, John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin win a lot of football games. They'll get you to the playoffs. You'll compete for division titles. But it feels as if Pittsburgh has kind of reached a ceiling here. I saw somebody on Twitter compare it to Marvin Lewis with the Bengals when Andy Dalton was there. And they'd keep winning 10, 11 games, getting to the playoffs and get bounced in the first round. And they kept him around because of, he's consistently good, keeps getting us to the playoffs. And if all you're looking for is 9-8, 10-7, a winning record, sell jerseys, host a playoff game here and there, then the Pittsburgh Steelers should keep Mike Tomlin, because that's what he does. But I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers would be better served moving on from Mike Tomlin, moving on from Aaron Rodgers, and taking a couple steps back over the next year or two to be able to take real steps forward. The Steelers haven't had a franchise quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger. They haven't had the opportunity to draft one because they're always picking somewhere between 18 and 25 in the draft. It's just the truth of things. You got to have a bad year. Get into that top 10. Take a quarterback that you believe in and could build around. Not Mason Rudolph, not Duck Hodges, not Justin Fields, not Aaron Rodgers at 42, not these castaways. Somebody you believe in and can develop an offense around. There's plenty of pieces to develop a young quarterback. Freiermuth, DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, Kenny Gainwell, Darnell Washington when he gets healthy. It's a younger offensive line. Yeah, the defense is full of vets, but you can move those guys for additional draft picks. And if you're Pittsburgh, you move on from Tomlin, you get the right head coach, draft a good quarterback, this shit could be turned around in 2 years. Look at how quick you can flip something on its head. Chicago drafts Caleb Williams. The next year brings in Ben Johnson. Now they're the 2 seed. I mean, that was 2 years once they got it right. Denver, they move on from Russ, draft Bo Nix, bring in Sean Payton. 2 years later, they're the 1 seed. You take the small step back for a season, and it can yield very high-level results. And I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will be better off taking a year away from 10-7, 9-8, living at 4 to 6 wins, than they would be just riding this out because they're winning games. That's where I stand on it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL and you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it if you consider hitting that button. We'll be doing instant game reactions like this to the divisional round. I'll, of course, give you guys my predictions. Wednesday, me and Javon will be dropping another episode of Double Coverage. And you guys like the last one so much that I'm probably going to fire up old ChatGPT again and let it predict the divisional round. So I will catch you guys throughout the week with more football content. Until then, peace.